This is Dr. Milady coming to you live. I'm actually live this morning. I wanted to have a little tete a tete, which is, a little chat with y'all, especially those of us who are in our late 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond, where you feel like your body's betraying you, right? You're not the same person. And I I was thinking about this last night. I was gonna do it last night, but I was just like, you know what? I need to be fresh to really think about what I would like to say and what's been going through my head as of late. So this morning, that burning desire came back again when I was trying to find something in my closet to wear. You ever see, we're blessed with a lot of clothing, any of us, but once your body has changed in so many ways, it's almost like you have a bunch of clothes, but you cannot find anything to wear. Does that make sense? And this hair is not behaving. So I was like, I'm going through, it took me a good 20 minutes to go through different things that either this didn't fit, that didn't fit, this didn't look right. Yes, being hypercritical for many of us, but I'm saying it was too tight, right? And then I said to myself, man, how did I get here? And many of you, I know you come to me and you say the same thing like, how did I get from this to this? And it's people may think that, yes, it is just being hypercritical about size and weight and all of that. No, it's more how I feel in this body of mine, which is very different from how I felt when I was in my early 20s, in my late 30s, and then I started feeling it past about 30, I'd say past 35. It started coming insidiously, but it was coming. And then by 38, I just felt like, okay, what is this? But this was, it paled in comparison to where I am now at 49 and how my body is doing things that I never thought it would do, how it's doing things that I do not recognize, such as, um, of course, the hair, right? The hair is trying to tell me all kinds of stuff, all kinds of shenanigans. And whether it is thinning sections, and I hear that a lot, like, oh, all of a sudden somebody says I'm losing hair in the middle. It's thinning because of possibly medications or just the stress of life. Some of us kind of carry that stress. We have stress spots, right? Or some of us carry our stress like in our bellies. We're constantly having these waxing and waning pains in our bellies. It may not be painful, but just annoying. Everything we eat sometimes kind of off, which may resemble some symptoms of other things like other illnesses, but sometimes it's just like a nervous gut. Or sometimes it froze a little bit, but it's probably the Wi-Fi here. Um, my body was just like, it's not doing anything. It's not moving. And although I wanted to do something, I was just not motivated to do it. There is this overwhelming fatigue that came over me initially in the I would say the mid part, maybe early part of last year, 2025. And that all came with those menopause symptoms. And then I had to figure, you know, I had to figure out what were my options with my current state. Everybody goes through menopause differently, and I'm talking to the women who are going through this. You can come in and then you say, you know what, I think something's going on. I want labs, right? And I get all the labs done, your estrogen, your estradiol, FSH, LH, all these things. And the numbers come out absolutely fine. But at the same time, you are experiencing this madness in your body that you cannot pinpoint. And you're experiencing this irritability that I've talked about before, that you know things that would not bother you all of a sudden become a problem, or you just fire off at the slightest little thing. And sometimes people say, well, yeah, that's just, you've been meaning to do that. And some of it, yes. But for the most part, it's like it's greater than you. It's uncontrollable, right? And you sometimes, because of that, friendships go by the wayside because you have said things that you probably did not mean, or you said things that you've been meaning to say that you didn't have the guts to say, right? So, oh, thank you for joining. And other times it's just that you have had enough. You have had enough of being the good person, I could say, or not necessarily the good person, but the one who never says no, or you've had enough of being a people pleaser. That's it. That's the term. Being a people pleaser. And sometimes that's to your own detriment. So you get to that point in life, that, that age, and with everything else going on with you, you said, the heck with that. I'm just trying to survive me right now. And, to be quite honest with you, that is absolutely okay. It is absolutely okay for you to say that, I need to take care of me right now. And that's kind of where I was the earlier part of the year, trying to figure that thing out called menopause, which I don't think I have figured out. I just kind of figure out a way to manage it so that I'm not this overly emotional person, overly sensitive to things that are said. Um, this kind of a snappy wife and mommy, I call it. And, learning to live in my skin. And although I've always been somebody who's been happy with me, at any stage of life, I've had to learn to be happy with this me, with the heavier me, the me that doesn't have the energy that I used to, the me that goes to bed by 9 o'clock, which used to be the me that went to bed at midnight and still woke up at 5 o'clock, did my workout, and went on about my business. So, and the me also, with everything that was going on internally, had to also, keep an eye on my aging parents. Those situations do not change. Also, being a business owner, had to deal with, the staffing shenanigans that takes place, where you have one person that's, you hire people, they're doing great, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, things start changing, or somebody decides, okay, they're out of here, or they start not performing as they should, or they get complacent. So now you got to go into, those of you who are business owners, you understand my plight. I've had to get used to the I've had to get comfortable with change, knowing that the only constant is change. And that I had to get comfortable with my entire life being that way. One minute I am the Milady who has all the energy in the world. My cousin calls me, my cousin from Canada, says I am an energizer battery. Like, it doesn't, I keep going. And then all of a sudden, that energizer battery feels the lack of energy. It was a very hard thing for me to accept. And also, I just thought about it, the brain fog. Oh my goodness. I think that was the most frustrating thing to me. Not to say sometimes I still have it, where you are thinking of something, you want to say something, you were thinking about something 2 seconds ago, it goes away, doesn't come back for 2 weeks. You know how frustrating that is when you are trying to run things, whether you are trying to manage your business, your life, different situations, and you are in a conversation, and all of a sudden you just feel lost. That, okay, where was I? So I know women tell me a lot about this, and I had to go through it to fully understand. Although when you came to me telling me, I feel bad because I was empathetic, but I didn't get it. You see what I'm saying? I always say that you do not fully understand someone until you are placed in their shoes. I think even there's a point in my life I went through terrible anxiety when we first moved here. So many changes were happening at the same time that I could not catch up with the change. So I went through a time where I could not figure out how to make a sandwich. You hear what I'm saying? So, as weird as it sounds, going through the moment, it was just so overwhelming. I could not put pieces together that were very simple. And I think God allowed me to go through that to understand when somebody comes to me and says they're sitting there and they are shaking like a tree branch, for me to understand what that means and to feel the pain that they feel. I moved here with two young babies, no family, right? And my parents were not here yet. And every time I say this, I get a bit emotional because we moved 3 times in 5 years, right? And getting here and settling again, having no friends, having not having the village, having to find daycare again. I moved with a job, but at the time, the job was not what was right for me, right? My husband was working at the same place, but he had been a primary care doc. I was in oncology, and I had to be this, I had to figure out how to be a nurse practitioner outpatient. And it's something that took some time for me to develop those skills. And let me tell y'all, I'm veering off a little bit, but it's not the easiest thing working with your spouse. Mm. Things that sometimes are met, whatever disagreement you had in the house, as a woman, he can like, it's over, right? So you kind of cross over into the space that you're in. It's like, well, I'm not quite done with that. You know how we are. So it's very difficult to, I had to learn to manage that whole situation and to us having our own space and to us being here and doing this for over 15 years. So that whole move, um, what they say, what doesn't break you strengthens you. Boy, that whole thing. And there's one part of that I absolutely regret, but I know that it had to happen. I worked at a family practice, which those who know me know where it was. And I felt so stupid. When I say dumb, because I was I felt like I was thrown into this position. I had not I didn't have the skills necessary to do outpatient because I had been doing oncology in hospital. Um, I could not figure out the simplest things, and I felt like I had more questions than anything. The simplest things I had to ask my husband. And at one point, he must have looked at me like, "What the hell is wrong with this woman?" And I think, but nobody understood what was going on internally, that I was just simply overwhelmed. I was anxious. You hear me? So when you feel that anxiety, that anxiousness internally, talk to somebody. Please do not keep it to yourself. Talk to someone who can help. Not everybody can help. I'm not saying go out there and talk your business, but talk to someone who listens. Talk to somebody who can help you. Find a therapist. My goodness. What I mean, I think my biggest angst with us, especially, is that we don't trust healthcare providers to some extent, but I understand some of the issues with that. I get it. But at the same time, when we need the help, we need to talk to a mental health coach. That is all a therapist is. Have I seen a therapist? Absolutely, people. Absolutely. And I've said it on here because there are certain points in your life that there are things that you cannot discuss with everybody in your family. You some of them you cannot discuss with them at all. Some things you cannot discuss with your friend because they've got their own stuff going on. They're almost overburdened, or you are in the state of your life where you're what I call ruminating. You're like the cow that keeps chewing on this grass, and you can't chew it and swallow it and let it go because in that state you just don't know exactly where to go, what to do. You're just stuck, right? So that's the time I highly recommend that you find someone to speak to, someone you can unload without them overtaking your load onto themselves, right? Because what happens when someone comes in and tells me, I can sit there and counsel, I can pray with you, and I've done that many times sitting in a room where I feel that there is nothing else in this moment that is going to help this situation but sitting down and holding somebody's hand. And many times that helps more than anything, right? Many times people come to me just it's not for the medication. It is really for the coaching, it is for the hand holding, it is for the listening, the hearing what you have to say, or um, and I don't have to give an advice. Very often I do not. I can sit there and listen, and that is enough. But they know that I'm sitting there and listening and not being judgmental. That is key. So I felt this burning desire to share with you that I'm not any different than you in terms of what I go through in life. I may, you know, appear, I am a very strong woman. I'm going to tell you that. Okay. And I will take the load and do what I need to do. But there comes a time that even the strongest of women also get bogged down, also get overwhelmed, also get anxious. If I froze, I'm back on. The Wi-Fi's acting up here. I had to be okay with saying no and not give somebody a reason as to why I'm saying no. Oh, I want you to. I, I won't be able to do that today. And end it. And end it. You cannot say yes to your own detriment. Can I say that again? You cannot say yes to helping someone to your own detriment. Not going to help you in the long run. If you have that extra time, extra this, extra that, I'm not saying say no to everybody, but if you have X, Y, Z, blah, 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 you hardly have time to sleep. Why are you saying yes to something else? That was me. I, it was, again, people pleasing. That can also be a character flaw, right? Where it brings you pleasure to please people, but you're okay with burning the self. Mm-mm-mm. I had to learn that late in life, but I thank God I am learning it. It is a process. Sometimes my former self wants to jump in and say yes, and I'm like, no, Milady, what will this mean to me to say yes to this person to do that? Will it mean that I'm gonna stay up till 1 o'clock as opposed to midnight? Will it mean that now I cannot take a breather and go for the walk that I like to go for? Will it mean that it will financially strain me to do it? So, again, look within yourself to see what is causing you this overwhelming sensation, this anxiety. Let's call a spade a spade. Anxiety is anxiety. There are things, like the death of a parent, the death of a sibling, the death. I mean, there's so many things that we're going through at this point in our lives that are um, that are stressors. The way things are going on, everyday life seems to be so much more than it used to be, right? And we're worried for our own kids that, I mean, if we're struggling now, what's going to happen to them? Thank you so much, all, for hopping on. Thank you. And these are things that constantly worry us. And and the Bible says, "Be anxious for nothing." And then you look at that and you say, why am I anxious when the Bible says be anxious for nothing? Because God has us. But we're also human. So we have to also give ourselves grace. And we can always hold on to that word, but sometimes in the moment it's hard to hold on to that word. Is that sound familiar? You know it, but it's very difficult in the moment to remember this is what the Bible says. So I go back into the space that I need to go to, meaning the word, and that's what got me out of that state. It was a little book that a friend of mine sent me, and I had it by my bedside forever, but it took months for me to even have the energy to open it up and say, okay, I started reading, and it says God's plan B. And that thing, it's not the word of God kind of saved my life in that situation where I was able to take a step back, left that job, and probably one of the things that I regret the most, but I'm starting to heal from leaving that job because I regretted it. Because let me tell you the regrets that I had. It took me a while to reconcile that because I had never quit at anything before. You hear what I'm saying? I'm somebody who will plug through no matter how hard and difficult it was. I would plug through it and would come back on the other side, victorious, so to speak. But this was the first thing I had started and quit because I felt like I was not good enough. But in all honesty, I was not prepared for that position. So I needed to take a step back. And I remember when I called the owner, at first I was going to text and I said, "Oh, you never do that. You don't text somebody that you're quitting. That is the most cowardice thing. Please, people, don't do that." Face the person, face me, face the owner, right? I called him and said, "I am so sorry, but there's so much going on right now that we had a death in the family, all these other things were going on. I cannot continue." And he said, he said something to me that I will keep with me for life. He said, "I know there's a lot going on right now, and we're not getting to see the true you, but I can tell that you're gonna be a great family nurse practitioner because you have this positive energy." And I am so grateful to that man for saying those things because I needed to hear that in the moment, because at the moment I felt like a failure. And I'm somebody. Okay. So I hope I'm still going, and I think it ended. Oh my goodness. Oh no, it's still going. All right, guys. I'm so sorry. The Wi-Fi was acting full, so I had to go back and get off the clinic Wi-Fi and just go on the phone. So anyway, um, the what was said. I'm gonna end this really soon because everybody's calling, and it's time to get started. But I had those words I needed to hear, and I needed to hear it from somebody who did not know me, who saw something in me at the moment that I did not see in myself. I saw this person who could not figure out the new role that I was in, and who was disappointed about not having been fully prepared for it. So if you're hearing anything from me this morning, is There are situations in your life that you may feel that you're not prepared for, but God has prepared you for it. It may not be the right time, the right season for you to be in that space. It is okay to take a step back and then recollect yourself, get the education that you need, get the training that you need, get the space that you need, the mental space to be able to do what you need to do. I needed to take a step back. I stepped back to um, working at convenient care clinic and started to see, lighter cases of primary care and then boosted my confidence to start doing what I'm doing today that I've been doing for the last 15 years. The beginning was very difficult as well because we started out with one patient a week, y'all. We didn't take no patient from nobody. We worked hard at this happening, and many people were so supportive. And I am taking this opportunity to thank every single one of you who have trusted us with your care. People who have been coming for 14 years with their kids, 15 years about, and the ones that were coming with their parents all of a sudden are driving to me. You have no idea. I feel like I've been their aunties, okay? Part of raising them. It's always a shock to have them walk in without the mom, without the dad. And it's like, where's your mom? They're like, I told lady I'm driving now. But anyway, that's as an aside. So I am sharing this to say that be encouraged. Every time I come on here, I try to encourage you to get through the next season, to get through whatever situation is going on in your life. To know that every situation is temporary. So, um, whether it's a loss, whether it's, I hope you can still see me. A call came in. So, um, be encouraged that God's got you. The situation is temporary. You will overcome the situation. Give it to God. In addition, also give yourself grace. I had to give myself grace. And I continue to give myself grace. Started from the closet this morning to talking to you guys, and then understanding that my body is changing and it is okay, that I am aging. I am trying to do it gracefully, y'all, but it is a process. And my goal is to always look 10 years younger than I really am. Uh, the aches and pains, I know they're there, but I'm doing what I need to do in order not to have it be something that I'm taking lifelong medications, or I can just take something over the counter. But that is the body that I'm in. That is the body that we are in. We learn to love it as is, appreciate it as is, appreciate who we are and what we mean to the world that we are in, and what we mean to who we are to our families and our friends. And it always, I saw something the other day. Please don't give up on your friends. When we are empty nesters, kids are gone, married, da 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 da, away. You need some good friends, y'all. You need those friends the friends who will never, um, who will be there for you no matter what's going on. The positive friend that will always encourage you, is not jealous of you or envious because you got here, they didn't get there. You want the real friend. And, good friends, I can think about a couple of them and a few of them can help you get through the hardest times. So as much as family can do different things, of course family is always family, but always good to have some great friends around you. And always keep your eye on God, because he will never fail you either. He will, well, no matter what situation is going on, he's always got you. He's always got you. So, oh man, I've been talking for a bit. Y'all have an amazing day, okay? I want to encourage you to keep doing your thing. If it's anxiety, whatever it may be, seek the proper help. Come and see me. Let's talk. I'm not a therapist, but boy, I treat a lot of mental health. So For those of you who do not come see me, you are somewhere else. Please see your nurse practitioners, your PAs, your doctors, those who are willing to listen. If they're not, please get a referral to see a therapist. Extremely important. Many Fortune 500 CEOs, many of them are either taking something or have a business coach and a mental health coach, y'all. So if they can have that to be able to function, so can you. Y'all have an amazing day. Love y'all. Bye.